I must apologize for the late commencement of this show because it was slated for 8 p.m. But unfortunately, I think maybe people were still trying to settle themselves after a long day to join, and probably because the show was postponed from last week because it happened to inter it get intertwined with our presentation, sorry, our preparations for the Benue State Livestock Summit that held on Fridays and Saturdays, and we were all neck deep involved in the presentation. So we just decided to push it to this week, Thursday, and this is why we now have it today. So without wasting much time, our theme or topic for today is smallholder dairy farming and its economic potentials in Nigeria, by my humble self, Dr. Bem David Akuve. So, Vivian, next slide, please. Okay, so introduction and brief description. What is smallholder dairy farming? Just as the name implies, without being very ambiguous, smallholder dairy farming simply refers to as a small-scale dairy farming. And what do we refer to as a small-scale dairy farming? One that involves the farmer producing with about from 1 to about 50 cows. This is actually relative depending on your environment. In places like Europe and America, they would consider a smallholder dairy farmer as one that's farming between 1 and 200 cows, between 1 and 200 cows. And then maybe a medium scale to be one farming between 200 and 500 cows. And then a large commercial scale farmer would be one farming above 500 cows, not necessarily having 500 cows in milking or in production, but on the farm. So having 500 cows on the farm doesn't really mean you have 500 cows that are producing milk. There are different groups of animals. So in our own local environment, because of our economy and our lifestyle, small scale would be considered as 1 to 50 cows. I know a lot of people will be asking, this one, that cow is very expensive. So someone with 550 cows is still considered small, with a cow costing an average of 300, 500,000 to 1 million naira. Local breeds, you now have 50 of them and you are still small. Yes, it's because of the production capacity. So, and this is usually found within subsistence farmers. In our in our elementary agriculture, we have two types of agricultural practice: subsistence farming and commercial farming. So most times you see small scale farmers as subsistence. Why is it subsistence? They just use it to meet some daily needs. But it has become imperative to even convert subsistence lifestyle or production into commercial for commercial gains, because 50 cows producing 1 liter of milk will give you 50 liters of milk. I don't think you can consume 50 liters of milk every day in your household, except it is very large. You have or a lot of people in the house. So you would probably maybe consume 5 to 10 liters, and of course you would have to want to sell the remaining 40. So that is where it becomes a source of livelihood. And then popularly practiced in our rural communities. Of course, you would agree with me that you don't get to see cows within the urban areas. Most of the times they are in in our settlements, rural settlements. And in our own case in Nigeria, mainly within the Fulani communities, majorly. And then it will interest you to know that upon all the milk and all the dairy products we have in the country, unfortunately, majority of it is being imported. But for those that are produced locally, they are produced by these people we consider as the small scale or smallholder dairy farmers, the people with 1 cow, 2 cow, 3 cows. They are the ones that bring their 1 liter to 2 liter and aggregate it to produce 90% of local milk produced in the country. Next slide, please. So this goes to show how important the smallholder farmers are in the country. And to run a quick overview, Nigeria consumes over 1.7 billion liters of milk every year. And out of this 7 billion liters of milk, only about 500 million liters are produced locally annually. So you see that as small as the smallholder farmers are, they contribute to about 500 million liters of milk. So that means the remaining how many 1.2 billion liters needed to serve our local consumption is being imported, and that represents a huge gap for us to fill. So for Nigeria to be self-sufficient in milk production, we have a deficit of 1.2 billion liters to produce to add to our current capacity of just about 500 million liters. So this is where the business opportunity lies. This is where so it means we're not doing even up to half of what we consume. So we are taking all our money, we're exporting all the money. So we need to bring this money back home, so we should at least be able to double our production in a few years to come if many of us choose to go into the smallholder dairy farming. 1 cow, 2 cow, 3 cows, 4 cows, 5 cows. We can do it. We can do it. And that's the essence of this lecture. So what's the objective of this lecture? It's for us to understand the importance and the impact of smallholder dairy farming in Nigeria's agricultural sector. I think I've already highlighted about that a little, from having 1 cow, 2 cows producing 500 million liters, which is remarkable, but not enough. And then to identify the challenges and the opportunities facing smallholder dairy farmers in Nigeria. Why do we have smallholder dairy farmers still suffering? Why can't they meet up with the local production? Why don't we even have commercial dairy farms about to help these smallholders produce what Nigeria is needing? Why are the smallholders still producing 90% of what we need and still not meeting up? It means there are challenges there. What are these challenges? We're going to identify those challenges, and if we can solve them, then it means Nigeria is on her way to self-sufficient in milk production. Now, to learn about the best practices in smallholder dairy farming, including breed selection, feeding, and health management, these are the things we can do to help the smallholder farmer upscale their production and be happier doing the business, even though in a small scale. To analyze the economic impact of smallholder dairy farming on rural livelihoods and national food security. Develop strategies for improving productivity, profitability, and sustainability of smallholder dairy farming in Nigeria. So initially, we talked about the smallholder dairy farming being a subsistence form of agriculture, but now we are talking about improving productivity, profitability, and sustainability. So it means as small as it is, it needs to upscale for commercial purposes. Next slide, please. So what are these challenges that are facing smallholder dairy farming? The major challenge is resource constraints. What are resource constraints? Limited access to feed and forage. Like we know, the biggest problem, one of the biggest insecurity problems in Nigeria today is the farmers' header splashes all over the country, especially in places like Benue, Plateau, Southern Kaduna, Adamawa, and now we are seeing skirmishes of it in the south, as far as Bayelsa, where we have herdsmen going into farmlands. I want to believe that no herdsman wants to walk into a farmland to just destroy crops. It is out of scarcity of forages that they end up becoming a nuisance and a menace to our society by, damning whatever happens to go in there and then do whatever they want just for their animals to survive. I believe if there's adequate forage and life and feed for these people, they will stay where their animals will get feed without encroaching into people's farmlands. So as a result of that, it is very important that people go into livestock and feed production for these smallholder farmers. And then while we try to educate the farmers on the need to patronize commercial feed so that the livestock value chain would benefit, those who produce feeds or forages can actually sell it to these farmers at affordable rates, and the farmers can also, purchase where there are no lands for grazing. And also government and private partnerships can also go into establishing grazing areas and grazing lands. Like in our just concluded Benue Livestock Summit, the government has partnered with the federal government to plant forages on large expanses of lands, which will be made available for the made available for our smallholder farmers to produce. In that case, we will not have encroachment into lands when there will be availability of feed for this smallholder. What else? Insufficient and low quality
Can you
fodder,
the person who
especially
is
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So, uh, our next challenge is also related to the first, which is insufficient and low quality fodder, especially during the dry season, which impacts milk production. So, what are fodder? Fodder are crops that are planted for the purpose of feeding animals. For the purpose of feeding animals. So, when you don't have this quality fodder to feed the animals, you have a problem, because dairy production is not just like beef production where animals can just graze and scavenge on any available herb or grass. There has to be specialized fodder like silage. Could be grass silage, high quality grasses like napier grass, like brachiaria grass, like alfalfa. When you have those available, it cuts the cost of production immensely, because you may not need concentrates in high amounts to boost the productivity of your cows. So with your alfalfa, with your napier, with your brachiaria, your animals are good to go. All you need to do is just supplement with the minerals and vitamins that the animal needs in trace amounts. So when you have this high quality fodder, production will be upscaled, especially during dry season, which is usually the peak of this farmers' herders clashes. So most of the herders would migrate from the north, which is usually militated by the Hamatan dry haze coming from the Sahara desert. So there is serious desertification going on in the north, which is one of the reasons is climate change. which has affected this problem, this unavailability of grasses and fodder. So you see them migrating towards the south and middle belt where there are more greener pastures. So it's one of the problems. Now, another is the lack of improved breeds and veterinary services. Access to improved breeds and adequate veterinary care is limited, leading to low milk yields and animal health issues. Of course, um, because of the way and manner these smallholder farmers operate, they are always found in, hinterlands, right in the bushes where there are no civilization. Sometimes there are no access to even healthcare or access roads, electricity, no civilization at all. So it's difficult for them to access it's difficult for them to access healthcare services. It's even difficult for them to access education, and information. So where are they going to know about improved breeds? And what are these improved breeds? The local breeds of cows we have in Nigeria are the ones popularly known as White Fulani or Bunaji, the White Fulani or Bunaji, and the ones we know as we call Sokoto Gudali or Bokolo, the Bokolo breed or Sokoto Gudali. We also have the Adamawa Gudalis, we have the Red Bororos, we have the Ndamas, the Muturus. All of these are a mixture of beef and dairy cattle, because if you want to classify them as dairy cattle, commercially they don't qualify, but they produce milk, and mainly they produce milk for their young ones to feed on. But as humans, we need the milk as well, so we extract or harvest this milk from them, and they produce sometimes between half a liter to 5 liters, and where they are boosted and fed properly, they can do as much as 7 liters. So when you introduce an improved breed, which is usually exotic breeds like the Holstein Friesian breed, which is the most prolific milk producer world over, capable of producing 30, 40 liters or even more a day under standard conditions. The Holstein Friesian cattle can be crossbred with our local breeds, especially with the Gudalis, because they are the big-sized cows that can, carry the fetuses of these also large-sized Holstein cows. So if they are introduced, if they are crossbred, you have a 50-50 of our local Gudali and a 50 of our Holstein. You can move from 5 liters to about 10, 15 liters. It's a good improvement just by genetic improvement. And subsequent crossing of the 50%, 50% of our local breeds with the improved breeds can draw you closer to getting something very close to a pure Holstein, giving you above 20, 25 liters of milk. So imagine a Fulani man who has 10 cows that are giving him 2 liters of milk every day. Let's say 2 liters of milk every day. They are happy with that, because okay, this is what the cow can give. After all, you can't force her to give more than that. Then you have 10 cows giving you 20 liters, that is 2 liters per cow. And then you have one cow, as a result of genetic improvement over a course of say 2, 3, 4 years, one cow giving you 20 liters, that is like magic. That is like magic. And when you consider that you need so many cows, you have 50 cows producing 2 liters each to give you 100 liters, and then with your improved breed you need just 5 cows to do 20 liters each to give you that same 100 liter. I don't think there's any Fulani man who is after milk production that would not key into this program of improved breeds. And I don't think any sane thinking person whose primary aim is producing milk who won't key into this improved breeds program, which is the key it is the major key to unlock maximum dairy production, milk production in our smallholder dairy farmers. So a smallholder dairy farmer who is capable of taking care of 5 or 10 cows, that is giving him just 20 or 30 liters of milk a day, now has to downsize the number of cows to like maybe 5. That will give him 15, 20 liters every day, over 100. That smallholder farmer will be the happiest person in life. And when you look at the economic translation from our local milk market, the dairy processors buy milk from this local smallholder farmers at company prices ranging between 500 and 700 naira. So if you have 10 liters of milk as a smallholder farmer, every day you make 5,000 naira. So, and I believe a lot of people are in our cities that work in offices that don't make 5,000 naira a day. 5,000 naira times 20, 25 days in a week, that's about how much? 100,000 naira. I believe lots of graduates are still earning below 100,000 naira. But a smallholder farmer in the village can boast of earning over 150, 300,000 naira. I'm going to discuss about a model that some big players in the industry have, employed in our rural communities to enrich the smallholder farmers and also, pull them out of poverty and also, keep them in check so that we can have peace in our communities rather than all these clashes that we're having. So another problem is the inadequate water and land. We have emphasized on land, not water, but just like water and land, when these animals move around, they are looking for water. And if you see, most of these herders like to stay by the river banks or around stream areas. And these are the same streams that our local rural communities drink from. It's the same place they go to take their water for community use, for bathing, cooking, and everything. And then you have the cows also going there. And for those of us who are animal health experts, we know the relationship between diseases and parasites that transmit from animals to humans. The zoonotic diseases could be bacterial, could be parasitic. Parasitic, for instance, let's say liver flock, for instance. The cows go to drink there, they have their droppings. If they are cows that have not had, been dewormed for over a long time, they drop their feces with those worms in it, the eggs, and then they are on the bushes, on the grasses, they go into the water, and then the people come and fetch it, go home, drink, and then the cycle continues. We have liver fluke diseases. We can have so many other kind of worms in them. And so where we don't have enough water, you cannot have milk because milk is 87% water. Milk is 87% water. So a cow that is producing 10 liters of milk, even if you feed her with all the best feed in the world and you don't give her water, she will give you 2 or 3 liters of milk the next day. Assuming if she's supposed to take 100 liters of water a day for maximum production, and she only has access to 20 liters of water, she will give you 5 times less the milk that she is supposed to give you with her full capacity if adequate water is made available. So what this means is if you're a dairy farmer, you can never lack water for your cows. There should be water ad libitum. The cows should drink at will, not when they see the water. It should be that there is water there. They are the ones that have not gone to drink, rather than there's no water at all. And then climate change, we touched on that a little bit earlier. I want to believe that if there was no climate change, you probably would not see any Fulani man anywhere below Nasarawa State or Benue State, because the land in the north from Sokoto down to Maiduguri, down to Taraba, down to Kwara, down to Niger, Nasarawa, Plateau, Benue, is enough to house all the cows in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, I always say one state in Nigeria can house all the cows in Nigeria, because from our last census, they say we have about 20 million heads of cattle in the country. And then Lagos State is the smallest state that houses about 22 million people with buildings, cars, and the rest of them, and we still have lands. So I believe that the smallest state in the country can still house all the cows in this country. But notwithstanding, due to climate change, there are no lands, there are no lush green vegetables in the vegetations in the north. So these people continue to migrate down south in search of greener pastures. And if you look at the Nigerian map, we have River Benue, River Niger running east and west and down to the Atlantic Ocean. We don't have big river channels in the north, except for the Lake Chad, which has shrunk down in the last 100 years to just less than 5% of its original size. So you can imagine what has happened in the north. Lake Chad was the major source of water supply in the north, its tributaries all over the north, and now it has dried up to just about 3% or 5% of what it originally was. So if there is a way that Lake Chad can be recharged into up to just say 20 or 30% of its original size, I believe it's going to revamp the fodder and feed sector in the north to also help check and keep the nomadic farmers over there. Next slide, please. So the challenges continue. The first one is a resource that the lack of resources. Now it's in infrastructure deficiencies. What is the problem with smallholder dairy farmers? As little as they produce, sometimes they don't have markets because they are very far from the cities and they don't have off-takers that would go take the milk and give them some money. It's not every community that has that leverage and that opportunity, where you have big players in the industry like Nestle, like Promasidor, like Friesland Campina, going in there to get their milk for local production. So they are unable to save it because milk is the most perishable food in the world. Milk is the most perishable consumable in the world. As soon as milk leaves the udder, it begins to spoil. It doesn't matter if you take it 1 hour later. The quality that's left, the quality of the milk you get 5 minutes after it leaves the udder is different from the quality you get 10 minutes after, different from the quality you get 1 hour or 2 hours later. Why? Because bacterial counts, these are normal flora, but they get the milk to go bad because as they continue to multiply, they ferment the sugars in the milk, the lactose fermenters. And when it continues like that, the milk goes bad, it goes sour. It no longer becomes good milk, you know. There's a popular saying that milk doesn't go bad because when it goes sour, it becomes this. When it goes this, it becomes that. Because there are different products in milk. But for processing into things like yogurt, fresh milk, pasteurized milk, and the rest of them, you need it as fresh as possible. So you need a cold chain to be able to keep this milk fresh for not more than 72 hours. For not more than 72 hours. And milk should be stored between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. In fact, from under 4 degrees. The ideal temperature for milk storage is 4 degrees Celsius. But if it must go up, it should not be more than 8 degrees Celsius. And it cannot be at 8 degrees Celsius for so long. It has to come down to 4 degrees just within minutes after collection, or it must not be kept outside the refrigerator for too long, more than 2 hours after milking. This is where the need for milk collection centers in rural areas arises. So big players in the industry have noticed this gap, and in some selected communities across the country, some of these big players have gone there to set up milk collection centers and storage centers. So they go there, train the farmers on how to collect milk hygienically, and then they bring them to those milk collection centers and they are paid on the spot. That is good business that I think if we can map out all the clusters of our smallholder dairy farmers across the country and set up these milk collection centers, we are going to be, you know, we are going to be uh, performing magic in this dairy production, because some of these dairy farmers, they actually lose their milk every day, and they have to maybe turn it into um, what they call kindirmo in the north. Kindirmo, that's our nunu, and then sometimes into manshanu. Manshanu is the oil that comes from the milk. So because they cannot have fresh market for fresh yogurt, fresh milk, they have to turn it into all these other products like cheese. In Yoruba, they call the other ones wara. They have to turn them into that, even though they are other products that people like too. I think the value comes when they sell it fresh, and except maybe they get market for those other processed products. But these are locally processed products that the market is not so big. So poor cold chain is a huge problem. Lack of adequate transport networks. For the smallholder farmers in the thick bush, there are no transport networks to reach the public in the cities. And maybe sometimes even the milk collection centers are too far from where they are. So they have to navigate within the bush, no good roads. It makes the milk go bad because you spend so many hours on the road trying to bring it. Sometimes you even have your milk, you go to the milk collection centers, they run tests on it and it fails because it has stayed too long before supply. So you've allowed the bacterial count to multiply so much, and then the smallholder farmer is not happy because going through all that stress, it's taking them 4 or 5 hours to get to where the milk will be collected for them to have value for it. It's not good, and these are all products of poor transport networks. Some places that normally would take you 15-20 minutes is taking 3-4 hours. Unreliable power supply. These are even for people who are fortunate to have the power supply in the rural communities. We know even in our cities, you make your soups and stew, you keep your chicken and meat and other stuff in your freezer, and then our friends, NEPA will just take light for 2, 3, 4, 5 days and everything goes bad. Next slide, please. Challenges continue, which is market and economic challenges. Lack of organized market system. Farmers often lack access to organized markets and are forced to sell their milk to middlemen at low prices. This is a problem even in other agricultural produces. Fluctuating milk prices. There are no standard milk prices anywhere. People take advantage of the smallholder farmers, knowing that milk is a very perishable product, and then they set the prices very, very low to frustrate the farmer to sell to them, knowing that they don't have a choice. So low or fluctuating milk prices can make dairy farming unprofitable, of course. And then high input costs. The cost of feed, veterinary services, and other inputs can be high, reducing profitability or even discouraging you, because drugs are very expensive now. Drugs I used to buy 1,000-2,000 naira and now 5,000-7,000 naira. And then if I go to go and render healthcare services to a poor smallholder farmer, how much am I going to charge them? So these are constraints. High input cost, cost of feed. That's another one we just talked about that. That's why they opt for free food taking the animals around to graze whatever and, scavenge whatever they can see. Insecurity, cattle theft and other forms of insecurity can disrupt dairy farming operations. Of course, it is not only the dairy farmers that are causing nuisance in our community. Sometimes they come around and some group of people think they will just rustle one. Sometimes you see 300 cows and then you feel if you rustle one, the farmer would not know. They know. So these cattle rustling activities are also militating against dairy farming. Lack of access to finance, limited access to credit and other financial resources hinders investment in improved technologies and practices. In our just concluded Benue Livestock Summit, one of our presenters, as a matter of fact, our headliner, Dr. Shedrack, made a very important comment. He said for every $1 that comes into Africa as a form of aid for agriculture, $75 goes, if I'm correct, I stand corrected, or I think $75 or thereabouts, $75 or $65 goes into crop production. It is just the remaining 25 or 35 thereabouts that goes into animal production. And animal production is not just dairy, it's not just cattle. In fact, animal production, most times when they talk about animal production, the first thing they mention is poultry. The next is fishery. The next is piggery. Nobody remembers ruminants. Even when they talk about ruminants, they are talking about small ruminants, sheep and goats. Cattle will always come last. And in cattle, they talk about beef cattle first, before even dairy, if at all they ever mention dairy. So this is to show you that even if the funds are there, dairy always comes last. Why must dairy come last? Definitely, it will militate against production in dairy farming. Please, next slide. We are still talking about challenges. It is these challenges that will bring solutions that would bring the success of dairy farming in our smallholder farmers especially. Commercial farmers have money, so they can navigate through all these challenges we're talking about. But we cannot overemphasize these challenges because it is the challenges that brings about the opportunities when solved. What are the other challenges? These are general challenges. Lack of extension services. We mentioned lack of healthcare services, veterinary services, and all of that. Extension services is also very important because these are the people that go to the end of the world to educate these farmers on modern practices, global best practices on how to carry out their farming techniques, even in the rural communities and in their smallest size. Milking procedures, hygienic milking procedures, hygienic feeding, and improved breeding, all of that is going to be carried out by extension workers. And the lack of it will definitely make our people continue to wallow in their traditional style that never gives any positive result. Inadequate extension services and training limit farmers' ability to adopt improved farming practices. Poor farm management practices. For farm management practices, many farmers still rely on traditional outdated farming practices, resulting in low yields and poor quality milk. Already highlighted that. Conflicts between farmers and herders, these are insecurity problems we already mentioned that. Conflicts over land and resources can disrupt dairy farming operations. We already mentioned that in the course of talking about other points. Unorganized milk collection schemes. Lack of organized milk collection schemes makes it difficult for farmers to sell their milk. We mentioned that before. And then poor nutrition. Poor nutrition is also a reflection of lack of feed and forage. Next slide, please. All right. Our topic says smallholder farming and the economic impact. So this is the economic impact of smallholder dairy farming. Of course, for everything we do as a business is to serve as a source of livelihood for us. So, like we mentioned before, most of the smallholder dairy farmers are in rural communities. So it serves as a source of livelihood in rural communities. It provides jobs for teeming youth and women in rural communities. I'm going to talk about that with a case study of what Nestle Nigeria did around Abuja and Kaduna, some Abuja and Kaduna communities, contributes to national food security and helps solve the problem of hunger and malnutrition. Hunger is a big problem, and they say a hungry man is an angry man. Today we know what the market is saying. You take over a lot of money and go to the market and you can buy just less food. Some homes, they've stopped eating meat because meat is very expensive. Meat is very, very expensive. Some places, they've not drank tea or taken milk for a very long time because in our community, we believe, in our society, we believe that milk, meat, eggs are for big men and big women. But surprisingly, these are the cheapest source of protein. Milk is actually the cheapest source of protein, and it's a complete food, complete balanced diet. You know, that's why children can take milk for 6 months or even 1 year. But in the program they call baby friendly in humans, so they can actually survive on milk. Milk is a complete food. So we have over 2 million children suffering severe acute malnutrition in Nigeria. This is from Sense. You check, you see it, it's in Sense. The Minister for Livestock emphasized something that as part of the homegrown school feeding program, if we can deliver 1 liter of milk to every child every day out of the 13 million out of school children in the north, in Nigeria, that's 13 million liters of milk every day. Imagine if we can meet that kind of demand. A lot of people would be in business, would have jobs, and that's for the out of school. Those in school, more than 20, 30 million children in school. So we're talking about 50 million liters of milk every day. Can we meet that? That is huge. That's a huge opportunity of wealth creation for the rural farmers and even those intending to go into smallholder dairy farming. Based on statistics, over 12 million pastoralists in Nigeria. Imagine if you have 12 million pastoralists. Some of them have 1 cow, 2 cows, 3 cows, 5 cows, 10 cows, 20 cows. Multiply that by just 1 liter of milk. Even if it is just one cow they all have, that's 12 million cows and 12 million liters of milk on a daily basis. That's 1111. Imagine how much. 12 million liters of milk times 500 naira base mark for a liter of milk in the market, in the farm gate. You do that, you know what we're talking about. That's over 120 million naira for local people out there. Now, we have some programs that are aimed at helping the smallholder dairy farmers across, and this is championed by some non-governmental organizations like the ALDDN, which is the Advancing Local Dairy Development in Nigeria. These people have been able to impact about 22,000 households in the country and over 63,000 farmers with training and local empowerments in things like milk handling, artificial insemination, breed development, and this is in collaboration with organizations like Sahel Consulting. So smallholder dairy farming has the potential to cater for Nigeria's local milk demand and grow Nigeria into an exporting nation and also grow local economy, GDP, via the dairy value chain. We already mentioned this before. The dairy value chain is not just about milk production. It gives room for animal feed and further production, processing into things like yogurt, cheese, butter, wara, shanu. All of these things are value chains, and even processing, supply, all of these things milk processing, milk storage, milk transportation. They are all businesses. Next slide, please. So how do we improve productivity and profitability? Number one is by improving the cow breeds via crossbreeding with high milk producing breeds like Jerseys, Holstein Friesian, and improved breeds like Girolandos. I know this breed, Girolando, a lot of us don't know that there is a breed of cow known as the Girolando. Personally, I got to know just recently by the privilege of working in my current workplace. The Girolando breed of cow was developed in Brazil by crossing an Indian breed known as the Gir and the Holstein Friesian breed. So whatever inspired the name Girolando, I don't know, but I know the Gir there stands for the Indian Gir breed. Then the Orlando should be something that relates with the Holsteins, probably because Holsteins are from Holland. Maybe just trying to um, be deductive in reasoning now. So Girolandos are very tough because the Gir species, the um, the Gir breed are very tough too. India is very hot, can be very hot, up to 40 degrees sometimes, and the animals survive that temperature. So with the Holsteins that are more temperate in nature, but with high milk productivity, you want a cow that has the capacity to withstand the kind of hot weather in Nigeria. So when you bring in Jerseys, they struggle to adapt. You bring in Holsteins, they struggle to adapt. What do you bring in that would adapt very quickly? So the Girolando is your best option at the moment. With high milk capacity, giving you up to 35 liters of milk, and still withstanding the harsh weather conditions in Nigeria. I think if we have to advise our local farmers to improve their breeds, they should have to go with this breed, the Girolando breed. Leveraging on technological advancements in breeding, such as artificial insemination and embryo transfer. Of course, artificial insemination is your best bet when you want to crossbreed, because if you bring in, say, a Holstein bull, if he mounts a white Fulani, she will disappear. You won't even see the cow again. If he mounts a Bokolo, for instance, she might break her waist, and the aim is defeated. So the best is to get your AI gun, take your semen and just implant. And then you have your calf. And pray that you don't have monstrosity, because the Holstein calves are usually big. So if you want to dodge monstrosity, what do? You go for a smaller breed like the Jerseys with high milk productivity, even though less than that of the Holstein, but higher quality. Jerseys have higher milk quality because of the butter fats are very high, while the Holsteins have high milk volume but less butter fat. So, but business people prefer volume over quality, and some farms actually have different breeds. Like our farm, we have the Holstein breeds, the Girolandos, and even Jersey breeds. So if you want high buttermilk, you want high um, quantity of milk, high protein, you have it in your Holsteins and Girolandos. So with artificial insemination, you can cross. Now, the latest technology in breeding is the embryo transfer. What is embryo transfer? Embryo transfer is a kind of phenomenon where you take a pure breed of an animal, you do in vitro fertilization, and then all you do is to transfer that embryo into another breed. For instance, your white Fulani now, if your white Fulani has the capacity to carry the pregnancy of a Holstein, you can actually transfer a Holstein embryo into a white Fulani, and the white Fulani will calve a pure 100% Holstein cow for you, other than taking the semen of a Holstein and inseminating with a white Fulani to give you a 50% Holstein and 50% white Fulani. No, this time around, you can actually get the the embryo of the host thing, all you need to do, the other cows can just be carriers. They are just like surrogates in humans, where maybe a couple are finding it difficult to have um, baby, maybe the woman cannot, carry pregnancy. She's been miscarrying. They say, okay, let's harvest the ovum from the woman and harvest the semen from the male, do IVF, and implant in another female that can carry the pregnancy on behalf of this couple. That's exactly what is happening in embryo transfer now. So instead of going to buy Holstein animals, live animals, that can cost you almost 10 million naira for one cow, why not buy the embryo that can cost you around 500,000 or 1 million naira and implant in your local cow for her to just calve that animal for you? So you're using less than 10% or even less than 5% of what you should have done for people importing live animals. Your shortest cut now is embryo transfer. Now, fodder and forage production, silage making. Instead of carrying your cows going about to graze, why not plant? You have a small piece of land. You can plant maize, you can plant soya beans, you can plant grasses and harvest these grasses and make silage. What is silage? Silage is a place where you harvest all this fodder that you have planted, and to keep them fresh, you either put them in what we call silage bunkers and cover them with tarpaulins and not allow water to touch it. So it undergoes anaerobic fermentation and stays fresh for as long as it is properly stored. Nowadays, we have machines that creates silage balers. So as you harvest your grasses and your fodder, the machine would wrap it round and put it in a polythene and keep it for as long as you need it, very fresh. These are the innovations in dairy farming that we need to key into so that we'll stop having all this problem. You have a piece of land, as long as you plant your grasses, you just go there cutting. So you have, let's say, for instance, 1 hectare of land. 1 hectare of land can do you like over 100 tons of grasses in a year. Over 100 tons of grasses in a year, as far as you are true to your practice. So these are the way we need to go to improve smallholder dairy farming. So you can say you are a small farmer, you just have a small backyard there. You can actually plant grasses there, cut them and feed your animals rather than take them to mess around the whole community. Health management and disease prevention and control. Once the animals are healthy, they will perform. How are they healthy? There are diseases, transboundary animal diseases, and non-transboundary animal diseases that also affect these herders. You should always consult your veterinarian to be able to help you keep these animals in check. Vaccinate the animals against all necessary diseases that are capable of affecting the animals. All the routine treatments, deworming, parasite and pest control, and even as simple as sanitation of the farm or your environment can go a very long way. Marketing and pricing of milk and milk products. When you are educated and when you are empowered, you are no longer at the mercy of the milk off-takers to set the price. You as the farmers, because now you are empowered, you can set this. Hello, are we together? Next slide, please. All right, so I talking about practical case studies of smallholder dairy farming development. We have the case of Nestle in the north. Nestle, stop this thing, please. Next, sorry. They developed, hello, are we there? Hello? All right, so Nestle Nigeria Livestock Development Project in Kaduna and Abuja pastoral communities has established a model farm in Paikon, Gwagwalada Area Council. This is just one of what they have done. Also, the Advancing Local Dairy Development in Nigeria project in collaboration with Sahel Consulting, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We also have the Haifa Niger Unlock project, which is also advancing dairy development in the country. And then in Adamawa State, we have Sebore Farms, which have also done a very remarkable and robust dairy development program in Adamawa State. And all over the country, WAMCO, which is West African Milk Company, has collaborated with Friesland Campina, the makers of Peak Milk, Three Crowns Milk, in the dairy development project nationwide. And as a matter of fact, all over the country, we have WAMCO doing the highest milk collection in rural areas, where they have built their milk collection and storage facilities to collect milk and store and take to their processing plants. We have in Oyo State, we have in Ogun State, we have in Kwara State, we have in other northern areas, in Plateau State, where they actually have their dairy farm, International Dairies Limited, in Bom, and they are doing a very remarkable work there. Heifer is trying to launch into the dairy sector. They've been doing tremendous work in crop production, helping women and youths in rural areas in the Niger Unlock project. The Advancing Local Dairy Network, they've also done tremendously, but very practically, what Nestle have done is a game changer. What have they done? They've gone into these communities to see and ask, what are your problems? What are we going to do for you people to stop moving about and causing mayhem so you can produce your milk and produce your animals? They mentioned all their problems, from bad road network to no feed, no water, no light, no healthcare facilities, and all. And as a company, doing their social corporate responsibilities, they decided to invest heavily in these communities, setting up, building boreholes across the communities, providing artificial dams, like for watering, for drinking of these cows. So these cows don't lack water again. They don't need to travel kilometers to go and drink water. What about feed? They've been able to liaise with the local communities and chiefs to get large expanses of land to plant this high quality forage for these cows to feed on. It is doable. You have 500 hectares. 500 hectares is a large expanse of land, very large. You can 1,000, 2,000 cows can comfortably graze on 500 hectares of land, as far as the grasses are growing continually. They can. And when you look at these cows causing problems in our communities, if you count, actually, you will not even get up to 1,000. You have a group of herders herding less than 50 cows, sacking a whole community. Why? It's not possible if you have this kind of programs. So Nestle went on to do all of that, and also to compensate the crop farmers. They help them with inputs, extension services, even building hospitals and clinic facilities for them, so these people can live in peace and do their business. What did they do again? They went to the community to come to educate these farmers on modern practices, training them on milk handling processes and all of that. When they finished, they built their milk collection centers around these communities after doing the social corporate responsibilities, and then train people for milk handling, milk collection, and transportation to these milk centers. So these people are now the ones going around. They are members of the community. They go around, collect this milk for Nestle, and bring to their milk collection centers. And it is not for free. They bring it and they are paid immediately. So tell me, why won't these people sit in one place and do their business? You think those people will leave all that infrastructure and start coming down to Bayelsa to go and clear people's cassava land for their cows to feed? No way. Is it grasses they want? It's there. Is it water? It's there. Is it healthcare? It is there. So I think these are the things that our government and private sector and non-governmental organizations who want to, help bring lasting peace in our communities. These are the things they should be thinking that areas should be thinking towards. To facilitate.
Hello, sir. I can't hear you.
Hello, sorry, I lost my network. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
So sorry, I lost my network. So I was talking about the remarkable programs that Nestle did. Now, in order to facilitate the milk transportation, Nestle also gave motorbikes and kekes to some of the community members to go around and collect this milk. And then they didn't just do that, they made them understand that they are like employees to the company, but instead of paying them for working, they will calculate their salaries or whatever they are supposed to be paying them and deduct it over a period of 6 months or 1 year, and then the bikes become their own, so that they can now own these bikes and do this milk collection by themselves rather than on behalf of Nestle. So when they bring it now, it's like they are going to bring milk to come and sell to Nestle. So these are local empowerment programs. Now you have over 100 youths in that community that never knew they can ever own a bike, owning bikes. They can now use it to go and do Okada and also improve their livelihoods. So these are very remarkable programs that every big player in the industry can key into and help our rural communities. And even governments can also copy these models and practice in our communities, in our smallholder dairy farming communities. Now, after doing that, in order not for Nestle to be misconstrued as supporting traditional, farming practices, he said, okay, because these people need this help, it has been done. Now, in order to do it better, we have a model dairy farm where people can come and watch, see how this farm is established, and go and establish their own too. It will be best if they can do it this way. But if you cannot do it this way, for community purposes, let's do it that way, what they've done before. Provide infrastructures for the local communities. And people will be happy. Everybody is happy. Everybody is happy. Imagine a local farmer who produces 100 liters of milk every day. They get paid on the spot as they supply their milk. Cash, not be transfer. Except you prefer transfer, not be go come tomorrow. They pay them every day as you supply 100 liters of milk times 500 naira. That's 50,000 naira. So as I'm talking to you, there are some Fulani men and women in the bush that earn 50,000 every day because they can supply 500 liters of milk to Wamco, because they can provide 100 liters of milk to Nestle. And you can also do the same. If you own 2 cows, let's say you are bold enough to have 2 local cows, crossbreed them, and they are giving you 10 liters every day. So you have 20 liters of milk times 500 naira. That's 10,000 naira every day. I am very sure we have people that don't earn 10,000 naira every day. How are we sure that myself, I'm earning 10,000 naira every day? 10,000 naira every day times 30 days is 300,000 naira. Our local farmers are doing it because they have chosen to do dairy farming. You can also choose to do it. So I think with this, we come to the end of our show today. Sorry for taking your time, but it's a very robust topic. We had to exhaust it to this level so that we can actually understand and assimilate what it's all about and appreciate the economic impact of the smallholder dairy farming in Nigeria. Thank you very much for listening. Vivian,
Thank you
over
so
to
much,
you.
Doctor. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Teaching. We learned a lot. I believe everyone here got something to take home. And sorry, I muted everyone because I discovered some persons were finding it difficult to mute their mic. So please, it's question and answer session now. If you have any question, just indicate by raising your hand and I'll unmute you so that you can ask him directly.
Any questions, please? It seems like we are very good students. Everybody understood everything. No inquisitiveness, no inquisitive students here.
Okay, there's somebody raising their hand.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right, sir. You can go ahead and unmute Dr. David Adisa. Go ahead and unmute now.
Yeah, thank you very much. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you very much. Though I joined the presentation lately, but the topic so far, from this where I joined around, I think it's like 6 or 7 years ago, it has been a very explicit discussion on livestock, generally on milk dairy farming. Yeah, I would just like to know. I know in the other climes of of the country where people are into livestock production, with the nature of the breeds. I could see you have made mentioning of some Australasian, some milking breeds, which are very evident in outside there because of their climate. And I don't know if possibly bringing those breeds down to Nigeria and starting such farming, how lucrative would that be, considering with so many bottlenecks we are facing? You see, you discuss about the challenges and other things. How will a farmer or an investor make a very good part, with regards to quality with the production, considering what we are being faced in the country? Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, please? All right, let me address that question. Thank you, Mr. Adisa, for that question. As a matter of fact, I'm always posed with the question, is dairy farming profitable in Nigeria? And I always answer that. I always say the answer is yes and no, all depending on the factors of production and who is producing and the capacity of the person who wants to go into dairy farming. I always advise, today's topic is on smallholder dairy farming, and we talked about how to improve profitability and all of that. And we talked about crossbreeding with these breeds. As a smallholder dairy farmer, you may not have enough money to import just even one Jersey, not to talk of a Holstein. In today's international market, a Jersey and Holstein goes between 5 to 10 million naira, or even more. So a smallholder farmer cannot afford that. However, if they choose to want to improve their production, we are not saying produce like the Europeans. You have a cow that is giving you 1 to 5 liters of milk, and you are stressing yourself, doing everything for her to still give you 1 to 5 liters of milk. And with a magic wand of crossbreeding with the Holstein semen, good enough today we have semen in the country in specified locations. If you choose to go crossbreeding today and you hire an AI technologist to come and do artificial insemination, because definitely you won't carry your cow to go and start looking for a Holstein bull, which is not even possible. The Holstein bull will just kill the cow. So if you have a Holstein semen crossing, I always recommend that if you want to do a direct crossbreed with Holsteins, you should be with Budalis. They are the ones that have the size to withstand the Holsteins. However, some people still do white Fulani with Holsteins. I would not advise that anyways. If you want to do that, it should be with Bokolos, the Budalis, and some other very big breeds. If you have white Fulani that have good size, big size, fine. Why? What are we preventing? Is fetal oversize, which can cause dystocia in the course of child, calving. So now, if you want to crossbreed, one straw for Holstein, if you are doing conventional semen, which is unsexed, meaning that if you cross with that conventional semen, you can have a bull, you can have a heifer. It's a 50-50. But if you want to use sexed semen, the conventional semen goes for 30,000 naira. So if you're going to hire an AI technologist, he's going to give you his bill, his fee. Maybe everything can cost you 100,000. And then if you're using sexed semen is specific. You want a heifer, that is, you are going to get a cow, is 70,000 naira. So when you cross with that, you hire an AI technologist, he comes, he can do everything and then maybe charge you 150,000, thereabouts, depend on him though, depending on whoever the person is. So now if you are able to afford that heifer, that sexed semen, which is 95% sure for giving you a heifer, you have a 50% cow, which is Holstein and your local breed. By genetic composition, that is an automatic upgrade for milk production. So you've spent just around 150,000 naira to get half of what maybe 5 or 10 million naira could give you. So if you were going to bring in a live animal for 10 million naira, if you were going to bring in a live bull for 10 million naira to come and serve these cows, you have your AI doing this magic for you for just around 150 to 200,000 naira. I think that is more than magic. Now, it will not give you maybe 30, 40 liters, or maybe not even up to 20 liters, but moving from 5 to 10 liters or 15 is magic, because no amount of feeding or anything you want to do on the local breed will take it to that level. But by single crossbreeding, you have been able to move your local breed, improve it from 5 to 10, 15 liters, sometimes even 20. So if you are able to follow these techniques, your dairy farming becomes super profitable. But the fact is, importing live cows is going to only give you profit in a very long run. In a very long run, not just in a long run, in a very long run. So just compare 5 or 10 million naira to 200,000. So if normally you are going to spend half of 5 million, that is still 2.5 million. If you're going to spend half of, assuming you could import half an animal, instead of 10 million, you would spend 5 million. But this is an opportunity that is providing, this is something that is providing you an opportunity to spend less than 1% or less than 2% of the cost of a live animal. So with this program, you can achieve profitability. And if you were here when I mentioned, if you crossbreed, let's say your first crossbreed is with a Bocolo and a Holstein, they produce a 50-50. The next heifer, you still cross her with 100% Holstein again, you're getting 75% Holstein. The next one, you are crossing, you're getting almost 90 or 95% Holstein. The next one you cross, you are getting almost 100% Holstein. So you see, if you do this breeding plan for 5 years, or let me not say 5 years, for five times, you would have been performing sorcery, not magic. So it's a robust plan. It's a huge thing. It's a game changer in breeding. And if you want pure breed Holstein, because you cannot bring in the cow, you decide to bring in the embryo. The embryo would cost you around 1 million naira. Yes, 5 cycles, good. So now you want the person who brings in an embryo and the person who brings in a live animal have done actually the same thing. The only thing is, it is still under probability for that embryo to be successfully delivered, raised to the level of a cow that will give you milk. But the cow is already raised and is at production level. But the embryo needs to go through that journey. So if a live cow costs you 10 million and an embryo costs you 1 million, if you can afford the 1 million, why won't you go for it? you're going for it. So, artificial insemination, embryo transfer, natural mating with improved breeds, they are all ways of improving our productivity in Nigeria. I hope I've answered your question. Any other question? Maybe we're tired, we need to go and rest. The exotic breeds cannot survive optimally in our weather. That is why I am always opting for crossbreeding. And if you must bring them whole like that, you need to be able to do what we call climate control. Climate control to provide a suitable weather condition for them to thrive. Or you must be selective in your locations in the country. For instance, if you're bringing them to Jos, or you're bringing them to places like Mambila, where it is very cold, you may not have too much problems. Or if you're bringing them to a place like Makodi, you should be able to have climate control to mitigate heat stress, drought, and so many other things. So you can actually bring them, but be ready to do the work. That's it. All right, are we good? Hello, are we together? Seems like we've all gone to sleep. Vivian, you're not there?
Sorry, I'm still here. Is there any
All
other
right.
question? Is there any other question? There are some. Did you address all the questions in the comments, sir? Okay.
I've answered the question. I have answered the exotic breed question. I've answered, what else?
Yes, sir.
I think
I said if you have a question, when you raise your hand, I will unmute you. So no hand has been raised yet. That's why.
So I don't think there's any other question right now. Okay, if we don't have any other question, I think we're done for the night.
Okay, Dr.
Thank you all.
Abiodun comes here to stay. Welcome, sir.
Oh, sorry, my network is skipping.
Sorry, I can't hear you too, sir. Dr. Bem, they're requesting for your contact in the comments.
Yes, we can share. We can actually share. And please do well to join the Vet Connect team. There you can have access to so many professionals, not just only the dairy program. I think
Yes,
the Vet Connect
still speaking on that.
link is there.
Yeah, I just dropped the link, the community
So please
link
let's
in
do
the
well
group so that they can all.
Yes. Yes. Okay, Abiodun, you were saying something, we didn't hear you.
yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ben. Thank you so much. So tonight I learned a lot. I was calling attention, Vivian, that somebody wanted to ask, but the person already asked questions. So I think we are good to go.
Dr. Abiodun, maybe you just type in our chat section so that we can see what you're saying.
Dr. Bem, I don't know if you drop your mail or contact in the chat box, since several persons are requesting for it.
Okay, my mail is my phone number is 0703216463. Yeah, I think I've sent it.
Okay, so his mail and number are in the comments, so do well to get it for those of us asking. So I think it's a wrap for today. Dr. Abiodun, I don't know, I think it's his network. So any final words from you, sir, Dr. Bem, before we call it a wrap?
Okay, thank you very much for all of us that made time to attend this very long session. I would want to advise us, we should not be afraid of venturing into dairy farming. We can actually partner with friends. A cow can be expensive, 500K, 1,000, 1 million. You can actually join money and buy a cow. 3, 4, 5 friends can buy one cow and start with one cow and learn the process and grow. That's why it's a community thing. It's a smallholder thing. Gradually, in 5 years, you don't know where you can be. And then just be bold enough to venture. If you've always not the dream of, oh, I want to have cows, don't think you must have hundreds of cows. 1, 2 cows is enough. If you go to America, the people I've not been to America anyways, but I've had interactions with people who've been there and I've seen too. People in the countryside, most families have just 1 or 2 cows in their backyard. They don't stress too much looking for what to feed the cow. Like there's too much to even feed the cow because it's just 1 and 2. So they do within their means to raise this cow. And they collect this milk every day from these cows and they consume it at home, just for home consumption. It's in our country that we go to buy milk in sachets and containers. Out there in Europe and America, they drink fresh milk direct from the cow. Why? Because it is complete. It is complete. But in Nigeria, what we drink here is dried, let me say, residues from the milk. After they've collected all the whey, all the fat, all the protein and all of that, they now carry the remnants, because it still has the dairy flavor, and then they mix it with non-dairy creamers. They call it non-dairy creamers. They mix it with non-dairy creamers, put in all these containers and sell so expensive for us. How much is 650 grams of peak milk today? Over 7,000 naira. Over 7,000 naira. We have the biggest size of peak milk is almost 100,000 naira now. And I can tell you for free that 1 liter of fresh milk is more nutritious than the whole of that giant container you see there. I'm not demarketing anybody, but sorry for even calling a brand. But most of this powdered milk we see in the market, a liter of fresh milk is more nutritious than the whole tin container that you have there. They're just making money off us because we don't know. So we need to wake up. We need to open our eyes and, take our destinies in our own hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we have come to the end of our of our dairy show. So do well to sign up on the Vet Connect community. I've dropped the link in the comment if you are yet to. So I see you again next. So this is a a monthly thing. We usually hold this dairy show every third Thursday of the month. It's because of last week we were all busy with the summit. That's why we shifted it to today. So we'll see you all next month. Thank you all for joining us. Do have a
All
great
right.
night.
Thank you very much, Vivian. Sorry for taking all your time tonight.
It's fine. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.